A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's webinar on Destination Canada titled Canadian Road Trips East Coast, broadcasted by Travel Trends Today. I, Murari Mohanjha, editor, Travel Trends Today, will be your host. With picturesque landscape and immense scenic beauty, Canada is one of the best destinations for self-drive. Canada is vast and cannot be completed in a single visit. We have designed a series of webinars to provide a unique platform for tour operators to create a multitude of itineraries for longer duration, multiple journeys, and thus increased income opportunities. During 2020, we will conduct a series of webinars highlighting several themes of Canada. Today's webinar will help you create year-round self-drive itineraries that merge effortlessly with leisure-based travel, thrilling, out-of-the-ordinary experiences that make a visit to Canada unique during spring, summer, fall, or winter. Today, let's explore this magical destination called Canada from behind the wheels. Before proceeding with our webinar, I would like to highlight a few important instructions in brief. Audience can feel free to click on any of the widgets available at the bottom of their screens to know the corresponding information that particular widget is carrying. You can click on to learn more about our speaker. You can also click on the abstract tab to know about our today's webinar presentations in brief. Please feel free to ask any questions during the course of the webinar pertaining to the topic by clicking on Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. If you still have any questions regarding anything related to this program, feel free to ask a question by clicking on the Q&A tab, and our technical assistant would be pleased to help you. We have amongst us Mr. Kalwas, Managing Director, Destination Canada, India, GSA. Mr. Vaz has undertaken various marketing communications, international trade and finance workshops and programs during the last 28 years through various global and Indian educational institutions. He is also actively involved as a guest lecturer on travel and tourism at various educational institutions in his home city, Mumbai. Over to you, Mr. Vaz. Mr. Vaz, please.
Thank you, Murari, and a very warm welcome to all our travel trade fraternity members that have logged on to this new and refreshed version of our webinars. Just to give you a quick introduction, my dear viewers, what we have done is we've created this afternoon a studio, a virtual studio that you are viewing from Mount Royal in Montreal. And I have with me, and as my background, the skyline of Toronto to give you the East Coast of Canada feel. I hope you enjoy the view from this unique studio, virtual studio located on top of Mount Royal with a wonderful skyline image of the city. We have with us a multitude of speakers this evening. And to begin with, I would like to invite Ms. Jackie McLean from Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada. Jackie, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you so much, Carl. And I realize I'm going to have to up my game here as I have a beautiful white wall behind me. So maybe next webinar, I'll try and find a nice mural of Saskatchewan, where I'm from.
And a warm welcome to you in the middle of the night. I believe it must be 3 a.m. or 4.
Actually, I just relocated back to New Delhi, so I am on your time now.
I thought you were still in Canada. Well, welcome to India.
No, I'm in quarantine. So so for the next couple weeks, I get to enjoy the four walls of my room and then get out again to explore India.
Well,
so,
welcome back. It's good to have you back in India.
Thank you.
And Jackie, it's over to you to start your presentation.
Okay. Just one second here. I apologize. I'm going to I'm on my personal computer and it seems like it's giving me some trouble. If you can just hold on for 1 second, I'm going to type in the password here, just one moment.
Meanwhile, Carl, if you can speak few sentences about your experience of Canada with me. Okay, she is back.
There we go. Sorry. Apparently I should have kept touching the computer so that I could, because it timed out there. So today we're going to talk about some of the travel restrictions and exemptions from that happened due to COVID-19. So I'm just going to ask that we move to the first slide. And so we'll go through the travel restrictions specifically for workers, students, visitors to Canada, permanent resident travel documents, and confirmation of permanent resident holders. I'm going to talk about the processing changes because due to the pandemic, and as well as conditions before and mandatory quarantine. And then probably most importantly, we'll have some time for your questions, because I know that there's quite a few questions regarding the travel exemptions and who's able to travel to Canada at this time. So until as of March 18th, there was travel restrictions placed because of COVID-19, and therefore only essential travelers are able to travel to Canada at this time. So there's a number of different categories of what is considered to be essential travel, but primarily, even if you have a visa or an ETA at this time, you may not be able to travel to Canada unless you are part of the travel exemptions. So we're going to go through who is exempt from the travel restrictions. And that is somebody who is a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, a person registered under the Canadian Indian Act, a protected person, so a refugee, a foreign national coming for an essential non-discretionary purpose, and we will go through what does essential non-discretionary mean, and a foreign national coming, so there's a little bit of difference if you're coming from the United States or opposed to other different countries. So if you're coming from a country other than the United States, you must be exempt from the travel restrictions. What a lot of people don't understand is they think that we have some discretion when it comes to the travel restrictions, and I can assure you the travel restrictions are not part of immigration legislation. They're part of the legislation that came with now the name escapes me, but not part of immigration and refugees legislation. So it's really part of Transport Canada legislation. And so we don't have any discretion when it comes to what is included in the transportation guidelines. So the next slide is who is coming to Canada for an essential purpose. And so that's some foreign workers, students, and approved permanent residents. As far as visitors, it is people that have immediate family members in Canada. And so we'll go through, there's basically two different types of visitors, those that are visiting permanent residents and Canadian citizen, and those that are visiting immediate family members who are temporary residents in Canada. And so there's two different processes depending on who you are traveling to see in Canada. We're getting a lot of requests for authorization letters. And at this time, we don't issue authorization letters unless it is for somebody that is going to visit a temporary resident in Canada, or if we're issuing what's called a FOIA-less visa, and we'll talk about that further. So the next slide. So workers, who is exempt from the travel restrictions as a worker? So as workers, if you were normally residing in Canada, that means that you were in Canada and basically traveled to another country, and because of the COVID-19 were unable to return, you're still paying rent, you still have employment, whatever the circumstance, you need to return to Canada because that's where you normally reside. If that is your situation, you are exempt from the travel restrictions. However, in all cases, you have to provide that type of document. So what would be the type of document you'd have to provide would be, say, for example, a lease agreement if you were leasing, that you had previously traveled and had remained there. So you have an entry stamp back to India, and then it's noted that you came, you know, just as the travel restrictions were put in place and obviously could not return until now. The other situation is if you have an open work permit, that you will be able to find work once you enter Canada. So normally what would happen is you would have an open work permit because perhaps your spouse is a student or is also a worker, and that you're traveling there on an open work permit and you would have some time to find employment. This is not the case now. It's only if you have employment and you have an open work permit. If you have an employer-specific work permit, you will be required to show that the business that you are working for that is employer-specific is open, and you will be able to work after your quarantine period. What is optional or discretionary is someone that was issued a work permit, but their business is now closed, and you will not be able to work once you get to Canada. So important that you not only show your work permit, but also the fact that your employer is acknowledging that you can work as soon as you come to Canada. Otherwise, it'll be considered optional and discretionary, and you will not be allowed to enter Canada. Okay, the next slide is about what type of workers right now we are prioritizing. And I wanted to also review workers who are work permit exempt, but can go to work in Canada. And that's only a select group of people, and it's primarily emergency service providers, healthcare providers, and marine crew or joining vessels. So it's a very, very small group of people. And those are primarily the work permits at this point in time we're prioritizing. It's again, people who will need to return to Canada because that's where they normally reside. Also people that are with supply chains. So people that are going to say, look after crops or healthcare field. Next slide. So the exemptions for international students, and this is a really important date. March 18th, 2020. That's when the travel restrictions were put in place. And if you were issued a study permit on or before that date, you may be exempt from the travel restrictions, provided that your school in Canada, your institution in Canada, is open and you're required to be in person. The majority of classes right now are online. They're online for students in Canada. So it might be difficult to be able to show to an airline or Canada Border Services agent that your travel to Canada is necessary. So we are getting quite a few calls indicating that students have been requested to not board the plane. So it is very important that they have a letter from their institution showing that they must attend class in person, and that it is a requirement for them and for other people that are taking those classes. We have had a number of requests saying, well, if I don't have sufficient Wi-Fi, if the time changes too much, institutions are trying to make it work for international students. So recording Zoom calls, having Zoom calls in the middle of the night, making sure that, you know, if you don't have sufficient Wi-Fi, is there the ability to upgrade your Wi-Fi? All those different things the student is supposed to explore in order to be able to remain in their country and continue their studies in Canada until they can enter Canada when the restrictions are lifted. So it is important for the student to consult with their institution and get that letter and make sure that it's very explicit as far as why they need to be in Canada. So then we're going to go through immediate family members. So this is probably the question that you're getting most often is, can a visitor enter Canada? And by and large, the answer right now and until the end of September, which is where the end date so far for the travel restrictions, what they often do is review it just prior to the end of the month. They're looking at, can we expand the travel exemptions further? So that will happen at the end of the month again. But until this time, it's basically immediate family members. So who is an immediate family member? And that's a spouse, common law partner, a child that is 22 years of age, a parent, step-parent, guardian, a spouse's dependent child, or a spouse's parent or step-parent. I think that's an important one to highlight because it sometimes does get missed. We've had a few cases where it's been very unfortunate that the child has passed away in Canada and the parent is trying to go visit their child. And if they do have a spouse in Canada, then it may be possible for them to fall under the travel exemptions because their spouse, it's their spouse's parent or step-parent that is exempt, and a dependent child of a dependent child. So it is an expanded definition compared to our normal immigration definition of who is an immediate family member regarding the travel restrictions. Next slide. So I've divided this into two categories because, again, this is the one that most people get mixed up. And it's very important that the person who they're going to see in Canada, it depends on what that person's status is as to what documentation the person requires. So an immediate family member of a temporary resident does require authorization from IRCC. And we do have a special email that people are supposed to send an email with the appropriate documentation requesting an authorization. What the office in Canada will look at is your travel to Canada to see your spouse, your child, the previous slide that we were looking at, your immediate family member, is it essential? So often what they will look at is, are you going to reside in Canada permanently with your spouse or with your child? Basically, they're not looking at people that are just going there to visit, turn around and return. So it's important that they show that they're going to be remaining in Canada for longer than 15 days and that their travel to Canada is essential. If they can show that, then the IRCC will issue a letter of authorization. Of course, the normal requirements still apply. And this time sometimes is confusing because people think, oh, as soon as I have this authorization letter, I can go to Canada. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You still require a visa in your passport. You still require a valid passport along with the authorization letter. So it is making it difficult because the visa application centers are closed for people to be able to obtain that. However, it's better that they apply online now and get the authorization letter so that once the visa application centers open, they can get their visa and they have the document that available to them at that time. The other category is immediate family members of Canadian citizens or permanent residents. Now, they do not require an authorization letter. And so we do get a lot of requests of people asking, because unfortunately that might be an airline default, is to say, get an authorization letter so they have that extra assurance that the person will be allowed into Canada. So it doesn't provide extra assurance because we will not issue it if their immediate family member is a Canadian citizen or permanent resident. However, they should show that it is essential if they're coming for less than 15 days. So if they're going for more than 15 days and the person is going to see their immediate family member who's a Canadian citizen or permanent resident, it is then considered essential. And they don't require anything other than to show that they're going to remain in Canada longer than 15 days. Okay, so the next slide is about permanent residents with a PR card and confirmation of permanent resident holders. So if a permanent resident is still in India and would like to return, they have the right to return provided they have their permanent resident card. If their permanent resident card is expired or lost, because the visa application centers are not open, we've started a process where they will email our office in Canada and they will issue them what's called a FOIL-less visa. So basically approve it in the system so that the client can get a board message when they go to the airport, but they will not have that counterfoil visa fixed in their passport. So you may see some cases like that, but they should have an authorization letter showing that their visa actually in the system has been approved. We have a number of confirmation of permanent resident card holders that their confirmation of permanent residence has expired. We are working very hard to try and look at options for this group of people, but there are several of them, and it's taking us some time to work through that process. I know some people have quit their jobs, planning on going to Canada, and that hasn't come to fruition because of the pandemic. We are trying to work with them, but at this time, there might be a select few where we can issue FOIL-less visas, but there is a substantial amount. If somebody still has a valid confirmation of permanent residence and it was issued before that March 18th date, they are exempt from the travel restrictions. Okay, next slide. So how our processing has changed. As you can imagine, now we had approximately 38% of our clients that would apply online. Now that is up to 100%. So if a person is applying for a visa for Canada, they have to apply online. At the end of this presentation, we have a QR code that we would encourage you to scan. It gives a step-by-step guide as far as how a client can apply online. So there are a number of steps and it can be somewhat complicated. So I find that the step-by-step guide does assist clients in being able to do that. Even when the visa application centers reopen, we're not sure whether or not we will go back to accepting paper applications. It may be a phased-in approach. So I would expect in the near future, all applications will remain online. Our published processing times are not correct. Because of the fact that we had many people that applied that are not exempt from the travel restrictions, those people will be waiting quite a bit longer than those that are exempt from the travel restrictions. So if people are exempt from the travel restrictions, those applications are being given priority. The other example that I would give too is that we have been approving what we call approved in principle for student applications so that they can start their studies online. And then we're hoping that, fairly soon, we can issue them the visas, but we wanted to get that first step out of the way so that they could start studying online, knowing that the first phase of their process has been approved. We have a number of people who have left India. We're in the process of bringing some staff back, but of course we are at reduced capacity, actually less than critical staff. So we are definitely trying to look at what remains a priority for our office, but unfortunately, accepting passports at the mission is not an option for us at this time. We definitely rely on the VACs, and we'll rely on the VACs going forward to accept those passports for us because of the fact that we are working with reduced capacity. And until the VACs reopen, we will not be issuing visas. So the only visas that we have been are primarily for diplomats, and outside of that, everyone else will have to wait until the VACs reopen to get their visa put into their passport. Next slide. Conditions on air travel. So there will be a mandatory health check that the airlines are conducting. Having just returned to India, I'm fairly familiar with that process. So they take your temperature, they ask you a series of questions, and in some cases, they may even request that you have a negative COVID test before traveling. So that will take place not only by the airlines, but often when you are entering another country. If you are symptomatic, you will not be allowed to board the flight. The other thing is most airlines, if not all, are making it mandatory that you must have a mask or a suitable face covering. And if you don't, otherwise you'll have to have some note, likely from a doctor, indicating that you're unable to wear a mask. You have to have a plan to quarantine. And so this is very important that the second that you enter Canada, you can confirm that you have a suitable place to quarantine, that somebody will be available to bring you groceries, that if you are quarantining with other people in the house, that you have a separate place to quarantine. And next slide is just to let you know that you will have to provide where you are quarantining to the airlines and also to the government to indicate where that quarantine is. And if you don't abide by your quarantine, there could be a fine of $750,000 or time imprisonment. So it's very important that you have that plan and that you make sure that you stay in quarantine for 14 days. I'm telling you, when my internet went bad, I was thinking, oh gosh, could I just run to the office? But no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay in my quarantine. So next question. Okay, so this is a slide that I was telling you about with the QR code that you can scan, and it will give you a step-by-step guide of how to apply online. We also encourage people that if they have specific questions, do look at our website. If you search COVID and then IRCC, it will bring you up with a lot of the changes because of the pandemic. Otherwise, you can use the IRCC web form or the Delhi Immigration at international.gc.ca email address. And of course, we strongly encourage you to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. When we have announcements, we always try and post them very quickly on our Facebook and Twitter. So say, for example, if the VACs are going to reopen, that's where we will announce it. So at this point in time, I'm going to sign off, and hopefully we have some time to answer some of your questions.
Thank you so much, Jackie. The presentation was indeed very informative. We are now quite updated on the visa front. We have a few questions for you from trade. The first question is from Ms. Susan Pereira, Senior Vice President, Trade Relationship, Communications and Service Quality, Thomas Cook, India. Susan, please.
Thanks, Murari. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So hi, Jackie. Your presentation was very in-depth, and thank you very much. You've answered most of my questions. So I'm just going to probably give you two of the questions that are top of mind. And this is with respect to the PTA program. So my question is, will the PTA program be reinstated once Canada reopens for travel? And that is for Indians.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Sure, I can answer that. I certainly hope so. I mean, we are all very hopeful that at some point in time our borders will reopen and we can get back to traveling. And the most important thing is our partnerships with people like our preferred travel agents and our MICE groups, meeting incentive. And so we absolutely hope that we can not only reinstate it, but make it even stronger. So I felt we were really on a good road when this happened to be able to do that. So we've all been taken back a bit, but yes, let's hopefully, if you will notice, we even had it on our Facebook page where we had a list of the PTA groups, and then we basically had to pull that off and say, okay, this is going to have to be put on the back burner until the pandemic is a little bit more under control. So absolutely, we'll do that, and hopefully more.
So thanks, Jackie. That's good news. And I'm glad that you mentioned MICE. So my question is again about the PTA program. For PTA members, would you then have a separate email ID for MICE groups? And of course, this is in addition to what we have for FIT travelers.
Yeah, so what we had basically been on the road to do is to separate them a little bit. And I know it was causing some confusion because a lot of the PTA groups were also MICE groups. But what we wanted to do, because of the fact at that point in time, a lot of the MICE groups, we were pushing those applications to Canada. We wanted a separate email address so that we could let our folks in Canada that were processing the applications know, here's a heads up, here's all the group, here's their file numbers, so that they could do them expeditiously. With PTA, because of our numbers, we were able to do that locally in India. But MICE, sometimes you can get a group of 1,000, 2,000 people. So we wanted to make sure we had a process in place to be able to do that. And would often probably have to invoke the help of our partners in Canada to do that. So absolutely, if it's a PTA and it's not a MICE group, they can continue using the PTA mailbox. But for large MICE groups, what we also wanted to do is make sure that have that connection to say, okay, how did you do your recruitment? What can we expect from the travelers? That type of dialogue, and then we could say, okay, good to go. This is how we're going to go forward with it. So we wanted to just test it out to make sure that it was working and it was pretty seamless with the process.
Thanks, Jackie. If I may, I have another question. Great. So
please go ahead. Yeah.
Thanks, Murari. So Jackie, this is for you. Transit visas could well offer strategic value for Canada. So my question is there potential to review the cost or the type? And this is especially for business travelers to the US, because this gives you great scope or opportunity, if you will, for leisure and pleasure as well.
Yes, I read the question, and maybe I could put a question back to you. So right now, maybe I'm not completely understanding it, because transit visas, there's no cost to it. So they're biometric fee exempt and also processing fee exempt. So, but I think the bigger problem right now is the fact that a lot of airlines, I think, are very reluctant for transit passengers. And that's because of the fact that not necessarily to do with immigration, but more that you not only have to know the travel restrictions for Canada, but also the fact that there's a very short time frame that they have, because they can't leave the airport. The second that they leave, they have to quarantine. So then what happens, can they get a flight within a certain amount of hours? And then after that, will they meet the restrictions of that country in order to enter? So we haven't changed. We have definitely changed our policy on transit visas because of the fact that the time frame to transit is very tight. But I think the bigger issue for us is not the cost, they're still fee exempt, but also just kind of the reluctance of airlines to take transit passengers, given that they have to ensure that they will be able to obtain entry into the US.
Got it. Thanks, Jackie. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Jackie, we have another question from Mr. Manav Soni, CEO, Exclusive Travels, Kolkata. Manav, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Murari.
Yeah.
Hi, Jackie. My question for you is, what is the cost of a visa a student would have to pay when he or she travels for a graduation or master's course, which also requires them to study as well as work? We understand the cost of the biometric is Canadian $85. So what would be the cost of the student visa?
Our fees have not changed. So the cost of a student visa remains the same. So I believe it's $150 for a student visa, $155 for a work permit, plus the biometric fee. The biometric fee is valid, biometrics are valid for 10 years. So that's a one-time fee. And I think the other thing that I would note is it is the norm now to issue a 10-year multiple entry visa. If you don't have a passport that's valid for 10 years, then it's only till the duration of your passport. For students and workers, it will be to the duration of your course, usually plus 3 months, or to the duration where your employment will be finishing. I'm not sure if that's answered your question, because our fees haven't changed. And they would require a study permit if they were going to study, or a work permit if they were going to work. So that hasn't really changed because of COVID-19.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jackie, and thank you, Suzanne and Manav, for asking the question. Up next, we have Mr. Arun Pandya, General Manager, India, Air Canada, who is responsible for taking us all the way to Canada. Mr. Pandya has diverse experience of 30 years in service sectors, international markets, Indian markets, and startups, with lead MNCs in senior positions. Key areas of experience have been in sales and marketing, financial and project planning, distribution, brand management, government relations, innovation, and incubation. Over to you, Mr. Pandya.
Thank you, Murari. And it's a pleasure to be back on the webinar of Destination Canada. We are extremely happy and very, very supportive that we are able to participate, and we have been invited to participate in all the Destination Canada webinars. We have done a couple of them. There are more to go, and we will be present in all the webinars. That is a promise. And we work very, very closely with Destination Canada because we have a common objective of promoting traffic to Canada, and this is all kinds of traffic. So we support each other's efforts, we support each other's initiatives, and Carl Vaz has done an absolutely outstanding job in promoting Canada in India. And it is such a pleasure to work with him and with Destination Canada in India. This also brings me to the point that we know that Destination Canada is planning many initiatives next year, that is in 2021, with the anticipation that borders will open out and people will try and get back into normalcy or follow the new normal. But whatever it is, that the borders will open out. And I want to use this platform and this webinar to communicate that we will partner Destination Canada in its initiatives to promote traffic back to Canada and to, give a thrust of getting people back into Canada to travel. We are also, and this is something I have discussed with Carl, we are also planning as Air Canada, which we will collaborate with Destination Canada on some initiatives for travel agencies and their staff. So many things to come, many things in the pipeline, but we will collaborate with Destination Canada in all these initiatives and endeavors. With this, Murari, may I request you to please show the films, the two films first, and then I'll talk about the Clean Care Plus, and then we can show about the Clean Care Plus. Thank you. you played the video already? Okay, wonderful. So you would have seen that Air Canada, while we say we are ready to take off, actually we have taken off and we have started flights around the world wherever we were able to, including India. So in India, we started on 18th of August, direct flight from Toronto to Delhi. But these flights are the so-called relief flights, and there is an eligibility criteria of who can travel. For example, Canadian citizens, pure PR, those with work permits who satisfy the requirement as per the IRCC, students who satisfy the requirement as per IRCC, and a few other categories. So if they fall into one of those categories, they are allowed to take off on that Air Canada non-stop direct flight, which takes about 14 hours. What is interesting is that looking at the demand that we saw in August, so throughout September, we have these flights, 4 flights a week, Delhi, Toronto, and 1 flight a week, Delhi, Vancouver. Interestingly, we have also filed and DGCA has approved our operation for October 2. So we will have flights to Vancouver, multiple flights to Vancouver, and multiple flights to Toronto, all non-stop direct. 787 900 is the Dreamliner aircraft that is taking the passengers, 3 cabin service. So all this is in place even for October. So that is a good leverage for those who are wanting to travel or your clients who fall in these categories of eligibility and are able to travel. What I would like to show you is how Air Canada is extremely sensitive to the SOPs and the safety and hygiene protocols in its aircrafts. So you will also be interested to know that Air Canada flew in special equipment from Canada into Delhi to sanitize the aircraft before it gets ready for boarding passengers. This is a high value equipment and it's at every airport that Air Canada is flying into right now. So that is the extent to which Air Canada is sensitive to the present problem and has got this protocol of sanitizing the complete aircraft before it starts boarding passengers to reduce the risk to the most minimal. And we have had a very, very successful run since August, and we continue to have it in September, and we are hoping that this trend will continue in October. May I request you to show the film on Clean Care Plus, please? Thank you, Rajat. So you have seen what protocol we follow, and we are getting excellent feedback from actual customers who are even going on the Twitter handles and the LinkedIn, Facebook, and talking about our safety protocols and the hygiene protocols that Air Canada is following to the T. There are many, many more things we are doing. When you arrive at the airport in Toronto, for example, or Vancouver, we have initiated a test, a COVID test, which is voluntary. So if any customer wants to get himself tested or herself tested, we are carrying out that test at the airport in Canada. So these are some of the protocols that we are following. We are very sensitive to making sure that it is a seamless experience, even though there are these problems of COVID, but we still try our best to make sure that you have an extremely comfortable journey. Must mention that the Dreamliner is fitted with HEPA filters, which are the most advanced state of the art filters which ensure absolute clean air in the cabin. By the way, there was a research study that was recently done, and I will try and get that slide and show it to you in the next webinar, where it says it is absolutely the safest to travel in the present environment on an aircraft, and especially like a Dreamliner. So you must share this with your clients and give them the confidence that it is safe to travel. Thank you very much. If there are any questions, I will be very happy to take them.
Lovely videos and insightful informations, Mr. Pandya. We have few questions for you from the industry. The first question is from Mr. Abbas Moise, partner, Sois Travels, as well as managing committee member of TAFE. Abbas, please.
Thank you very much, Murari. Good afternoon, Mr. Pandya.
How are you? Good to see
Fine,
you.
thank you. How are you, Arun?
I'm okay. I'm fine.
Yeah,
Keeping
Arun,
safe.
Keeping safe. That's the best thing. From what we heard of your presentation, it is really, really nice to know Air Canada taking so many precautions to make sure the traveler is safe all along. I have a question. When does Air Canada plan to start a summer schedule into Mumbai or a year-round schedule into Mumbai from Vancouver and Toronto direct? Of course, that is post-COVID.
So let me tell you that, we have had the seasonal flight to Mumbai until now. So it's a winter schedule, and you're right. The first year that we started the flight to Mumbai, we had the round-the-year flight. But there were many operational problems we faced at the Mumbai airport. And this has nothing to do with the airport itself. It is to do with the weather. The payload restriction kicks in much more intensely in Mumbai than in Delhi, with the result that we are either having to put the cargo down or the baggage down or the passengers down because we cannot carry the full load. Not carrying the full load leads to uneconomical operation. That's how we changed the aircraft to a 777 from a 787-900. Now that also is a problem in a sense because the cost of operation of a 777 where we can take a full load of everything and do not have a payload restriction is 35% more expensive to operate. So there is a kind of a disconnect between these two things. However, having said that, the last winter, that is the 2019 winter, went off exceedingly well. And the company was planning to look at 2020 for a year-round operation. We also discovered that the other problem that we are facing is there is a lot of US traffic that originates through Mumbai, either directly ex-Mumbai or from other cities surrounding like Pune, Ahmedabad and all. But that traffic has a hesitation on traveling on Air Canada because the Canadian government for Indian passports needs a transit visa. Now, that is something that our head office has been discussing with the government of Canada in the Ministry of Immigration and trying to see how we can give them the confidence to waive the transit visa requirement for Indian passports. And I must say that the whole file has advanced to a significant level now, and we were hoping that perhaps there will be some positive news this year. But now this COVID has happened, so we really don't know what is going to happen. But to tell you, we have filed for permission for this winter for Mumbai. Okay, but we don't know what is going to happen. Now, all this is in anticipation that airports open out. Because if the airports don't open out, then there is a problem. So we are very keen. We are very keen to do a round the year operation to Mumbai because we feel the potential is tremendous. And if clubbed with the transit visa waiver, we have a winning situation here.
Okay. Can I ask my next question,
Yeah, sure.
Arun?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Is more to do with the times right now where a lot of travel agencies are suffering. You know, processing of refunds on refund applications is taking time. Is there any recourse that we have or we can write to if it's taken more than 8 weeks?
You know, I tell everybody, please send me a mail. I will escalate it to our revenue accounting department and try and come back to you ASAP with an answer. I mean, I can tell you, I have done that for many agents who have reached out to me. And I think, many cases have got resolved. So please feel free to write to me. We are very accessible, extremely accessible. In fact, Amit More, who is my colleague in Mumbai, showed a letter to me from or a communication from Taffy, which actually commended the fact that he, as a Air Canada representative, has been available to any member of Taffy almost like 24 by 7. So that's the spirit with which we are working, and it's because we are in the same boat as you are. So we understand your sensitivities. You see, so we are partners. We are in the same situation actually.
Okay. Thank you very much, Arun, for that clarification. Just one, this in this COVID time, actually something has crept up on us, and now it's, I think, going to become maybe a huge problem. The government of India for a financial year, ticket issued in a last financial year gives us up till September 30th to claim refund of either GST or K3. Now, September 30th is just around the corner. Air Canada, as well as a lot of other airlines, have said that you can keep the ticket for 2 years or up to March 2022. You could travel on those tickets also. So, the question is that what happens if a refund of a ticket comes in after September 30? So we
Yeah.
can't
So
claim the GST,
so there is a disconnect between the refund policy of airlines, and this is all airlines, and the GST policy or rule. So I can just talk about Air Canada. We have escalated this matter to our head office, taxation department, and it is a coincidence that just today I was discussing with our finance manager that we need to do a closure on this and give feedback to the travel agency partners. I am hoping that by tomorrow or by Monday, I should get a clarification from our head office, because whatever we do, we have to also keep in perspective what the GST law is, because if we overstep that law, there is a problem. But at the
That's
same
right.
time, we have to also be sensitive to what your problem is. So we have to see where we can perhaps balance out and try and work in partnership with CAFE and see how we can try and resolve this. So give me 2 3 days. By Monday, I shall try and come back to you.
Thank you. We have also reached out to the GST Council as an association. But thank you very much, Arun. It was really informative talking to you, and I hope people have taken a good thing from here. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Pandya, I have another question for you from Mr. Manav Soni.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Pandya. This is Manav here. My
Hi,
question
Manav.
is, hi. My question is looking at the current travel restrictions and the uncertainty which is there. Students or the VFR travelers who are wanting or looking forward to, they all are looking forward for a leverage for either for a outbound or a incoming changes to be made to their itinerary due to this pandemic. Suddenly, if something crops up. So your inputs regarding this, uh, will such a facility be reconsidered by Air Canada?
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
what would be the time frame within which this could be changed
So
or
if it is
changed
an
for?
existing, if it is an existing ticket, it is,
Yeah.
you can take the validity up to 2 years. Okay.
Okay.
And if it is a new ticket, okay. So let me just give you an example. I don't want to name the agent, but let me give you an example. Since August, we have had a lot of groups that have been operated, and the bulk of the groups that are moving from August till September, middle of September, and even now are student groups. What is happening is that we have had issues in between these groups of deviations, for example,
Okay.
because the person is not only going up to Toronto, the flight is up to Toronto, then he has had to buy a second ticket to go beyond Toronto because all of them are not going to Toronto.
Right.
We looked at that sensitivity, and from day one, we established an add on fare which you can take as a deviation in the group. So today I have no limitation on deviations. I'm just giving you some examples of what we are doing. So we have no limitation on deviations in the group. So the group is for 10 people going together up to Toronto. After that, it can split, and 8 people could be traveling to 8 different cities with an add on fare, which we charge over here and issue the boarding card also over here in India. And the baggage is checked through to the final destination. And whatever is the baggage policy, actually, internal Canada, there is zero baggage policy. So you have to pay for the bag. However, when we are checking in the passenger in Delhi, his bag is till his final destination. So in Toronto, he doesn't pay for the second bag or for the first bag. Okay. So this is one example. The other example, many agents have had a problem because last minute they have received the cancellation, okay, and they have had to put somebody else on that seat. What have we done? We have taken special clearance, told the agency to put that ticket for refund, that group ticket for refund. We have given him 100% refund on that ticket, and we have changed the name for the new passenger who would be ticketed. You get my point? So there is no loss to the agent or even the customer who's traveling.
Right.
You see? So similarly to your question, if there are cases where you need that leverage or you need that help, we are sitting here, we are willing to help you completely.
Great.
So
Just
you
a
can ask
clarity on
your,
that. Yeah, just a clarification on that. That this is for FIT also, not just GIT.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And
Absolutely.
what if somebody traveling right now and probably wanting to come back after some time, and in between in Canada something wrong or mishap happens regarding this pandemic, and that time also the change facility is the same,
Yeah, there
or
will be
any
a,
charges
there
will
will
be
be
there?
a, so that will get covered in the goodwill policy that will come out. Okay.
Fantastic.
And so you see, every day the goodwill policy is changing because we know
Absolutely.
there, First we say, okay, it's till so and so date, in anticipation that things will open out, but it doesn't open out. So we say, okay, now this is extended. Like I'll tell you, if there is a refund where the person has taken a credit for 1 year or 2 years, but may not travel, but may not travel, he can put another passenger on the same ticket. So we'll issue a new ticket. We will issue a new ticket, okay? But that credit amount can be used for that ticket. So it's not you yourself traveling, but on somebody else traveling, maybe your friend, maybe your relative, or whoever is traveling on the same credit. So we permit that, for example. So what I'm saying is looking at the sensitivity which keeps changing even of the customer on a daily basis. We get the feedback, we discuss, and this is global, this is not about India. Globally they get the feedback and they see how we can reduce the stress for ourselves, for the travel partner, and for the customer, because we are the three stakeholders in this entire operation.
That's
Thank
excellent.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Pandya.
Most welcome.
Uh, it was indeed very, very insightful information from Mr. Pandya. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Let's further check out what unique products Canada has in store for us. Uh, may I please welcome Mr. Kalbas to further explain about the exclusive offerings from the Canada. Unmute, please. Mr. Bas, unmute, please. Yeah.
Thank you, Murari, for bringing me back on. And thank you to my previous speakers, Jackie McLean, and of course, Mr. Arun Pandya for his extremely warm support that he always extends on a personal level, even to me. Thank you to our fellow trade members that came on with questions. I think this was a unique first attempt, viewers, at bringing a more interactive session as much as it will be a learning session. So for those of you who are viewing this evening, what you see is a virtual studio brought to you by Informa Markets. And this studio is located on the top of Mount Royal, facing the skyline of Montreal. That's where Montreal gets its name from, Mount Royal. And as presenters or speakers, we are on a Zoom platform. So we are actually looking at a Zoom screen, and that is then being broadcast outside. And that's how this entire new version has come to you. We hope, and I hope personally, that you found this interesting, creative, and brings in a freshness level to our webinars. Now, keeping in line with our concept, we are talking about East Coast road trips. And why are we talking about East Coast road trips? We're talking about this because we know the future of leisure travel, the future of FIT and small group travel will be by and large done by individuals going in small groups in cars, or families in cars or vehicles, or for that matter, even a recreational vehicle. The concept of 56-seater tour coaches is not viable in the immediate future, and we all understand health and hygiene, so I'm not going to go into it. We do realize that small individual vans will be the order of the day, but what we've done today and what my colleague Carol will come on and present in the next few seconds is really how can you make money as a travel agent, as a tour operator. How can you commoditize the opportunity? Your opportunity is to target FIT travelers. The opportunity is to target small groups or small closed families and give them a wonderful lifetime experience through self-drives in Canada. And I'm sure you'll have some questions on how this can be done, licensing and so on. And my colleague Carol is going to come on board in the next few seconds and present the concept. So over to you, Carol, and please come on board.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vaz. And before I begin the webinar, let us start
start with a short video on Canada for Glowing Hearts, please?
Somewhere outside of your ordinary, with people you've just met, in a place you thought you knew, it becomes more than you ever expected. You can just be you, and that's all you need to be. And no matter what, you always fit in, where the sights are as beautiful as the people, where the wildlife can get pretty wild. And even though you're not from around here, when you say goodbye, it's like saying bye to family. That's when you know it's more than traveling, more than a vacation. It's a journey, and it's just beginning, and it will continue long after you've returned home.
Good evening, everyone, and once again, a very warm welcome and thank you for attending today's webinar on Canadian road trips East Coast. In today's webinar, we will learn as to how we can create itineraries and explore Canada via recreational vehicle, via different categories of vehicle, as well as via motorbikes. Since Canada has wide, unique roads that you can explore along with beautiful scenic beauties as well as campgrounds available, let us first start with the geography of Canada. Now, Canada is the second largest country on earth, and today we would be covering the Atlantic Canada and the Central Canada. And in our next webinar, which is scheduled in the next month, we would cover the road trip for Prairie provinces, which is Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Alberta, West Coast, which is British Columbia, and towards the north, we have 3 territories, which is Yukon, Northwest, and Nunavut. Some of the tips before you begin your journey is a handheld device while you are driving is a completely no and is absolutely against the law. You must purchase a national park pass if you're planning to drive or stop by at a national park. And in case if you're driving with your family and want to stop by and experience fishing, do ensure you have a valid fishing license. But in case if you have some of the local guide or someone local accompanying you with the fishing license, you need not have to have it on your own. And do keep in mind that you also need to ensure that you have specific areas for fishing. So these areas you need to check on the below link that we have. You can see various areas in various provinces that you can go and experience your fishing. Now, all the road signs are in kilometers in Canada. The driving is a right-hand driving, and an Indian driving license can be used. The one that you can see the image on the right-hand side with a chip, these type of license can be used for driving in Canada. Proof of insurance has to be mandatorily with you all the time. There are children's seats that you need to ensure you, the child seats basically for 18 kilos and below need to be there in your vehicle, and seat belts must be worn at all times. Now we have various types of vehicle options available. In economy, you all have an economy and standard vehicle as well. Now, while you travel from India, you have certain baggage allowances that your airline offers, but you must ensure that when you prepare your itinerary, do keep the baggage allowance of your vehicle in mind. Likewise, we also have luxury and popular cars that are available. You have all categories of SUVs, almost every category of SUV, as well as some of the convertible or sport cars that are usually preferred by honeymoon couples. Recreational vehicle, like I said, Canada has wide roads, so driving such a huge vehicle wouldn't be a task. Seat belts are mandatory for the driver's seat, and while in transit, there are seat belts at the in the coach as well. So when your family is seated, do ensure that you have their seat belts on. In all the provinces, you can take a right turn even if the red light is on, provided there are no vehicles passing by, except in Quebec province. While you're driving or while the vehicle is in transit, an alcohol consumption is a no-no. But yes, when you park your recreational vehicle, you are allowed because your vehicle gets converted into a residence home. So this is an interior of a motorhome vehicle, which is very comfortable, fun, and easy to drive. There are three major types of recreational vehicles, which is travel trailers, motorhome, and park model trailers. Now, in motorhome, we have another three categories, which is your Class A motorhome, which is like a large luxury bus, Class B motorhomes, which is also called a camper van, and the Class C motorhome. Few of the things that you need to keep in mind before you start or plan camping in Canada. So there are various kinds of campgrounds that are available. One of them that we've mentioned here is the front country campground. Now, this particular campground or this particular type of campground that is available in all of the provinces that we would go through, washrooms will be included. It may have showers, it may not, depends on the national park or the provincial park that you are opting for, but please do check that on the website. There are kitchen shelters, electric sewers. Now, the image that you can see, which is right next to the picnic table, the lamp image. So here you can connect your your plug wherein you can transfer your electricity. You have the sewage facility as well as to get water or have a fresh water transferred into your vehicle. So whenever you opt for recreational vehicle camping, you do have these kind of facilities available. Likewise, at some sites, you may have a shared fire pit, while in some you may have your own fire pit. What should you take or what should you must always have that will be useful for you when you want to experience camping. So flashlight, lantern, headlamp are some of the basic things that you should have, along with some personal safety items. Cooking equipment is also mandatory. Some stocked up food and drinks that should be there with you at all the times if you're planning for a longer drive or a longer journey, and definitely the reusable water bottles. Now, many campgrounds have quiet hours, so we must ensure that we respect that and do leave the place as tidy as you see when you arrive. These are some of the places that offer front country camping. So in Newfoundland and Labrador, we have Terra Nova National Park and Rossmore National Park. We have Cape Breton Highlands in Nova Scotia, where we have Prince Edward Island National Park, which offers front country camping in PEI. Likewise, in Quebec, we have St. Ars Canal, La Maurice, and different other places. And in Quebec, we have Fathom 5, Georgian Bay Island, which offers great camping sites, Bruce Peninsula. Another thing I would like to highlight here is Ontario is covered with 5 lakes. So right here, you can see just right next to the Thunder Bay, we have the Lake Superior. And somewhere top, we have Sault Ste. Marie, which we would be covering in one of our itineraries. Then we have Lake Michigan. On the right-hand side, we have Lake Huron. And right below Toronto sign, you have Lake Erie. And on the right-hand side of Toronto, we have Lake Ontario, wherein you can experience a lot of activities and fishing. So let us begin with our first province, which is the most easterly province, Newfoundland and Labrador. St. John's is the main international airport, and Deer Lake Regional Airport and Gander International Airport are some of the few airports that offer great connectivity in Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, there is also an option of traveling from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland and Labrador via ferry. This ferry, which is basically Marine Atlantic Ferries, carries thousands of vehicles and passengers all around the year. So vehicles, if you're planning to drive from Nova Scotia to Newfoundland, you can definitely take your vehicle or your car in this particular ferry. You need to board from North Sydney, which is in Nova Scotia, a port in Nova Scotia, the ferry, and then arrive at Channel Port aux Biscuits, which is a port in Newfoundland and Labrador. And this particular port is very close to Deer Regional Airport that I just highlighted in the previous slide. There are various
companies, car rental companies that are available in Newfoundland and Labrador, the ones which are reflecting on your screen. Various beautiful options of camping in Newfoundland and Labrador. So like I said, Grosmo also offers front country camping, but it also offers backcountry camping and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Likewise, we have Terra Nova National Park that comprises of 400 square kilometer boreal forest and sea coast and offers primitive camping experiences. Now, we have Tongarg Mountains National Park, which is very close to Labrador Island, and La Mancha Provincial Park is very well known for RV camping and RV parking. Some of the beautiful road trips or day trips that you can experience. So St. John basically has, Newfoundland and Labrador basically has 5 different regions to explore the off-beaten path of Newfoundland and Labrador. Most of them that we have highlighted are very close to St. John cities. That is your Discovery Trail, Fortune Bay Adventure, and Heritage Run, which is a part of eastern Newfoundland and Labrador, and Avalon Peninsula, which is very close again to St. John, and driving on Killick Coast, Admiral's Coast, and Osprey Coast gives you a unique experience to see whales, seabirds, and some adventure activities like kayaking, hiking, and so on. Now, Signal Hill in St. John, a visit to Signal Hill is a must as it is a National Historic Site. And at this place, the first transatlantic waves was transmitted between Europe and between Canada. And there are various options of hiking through Battery, where you see tiny, colorful wooden homes that cling valiantly to the cliff side. Likewise, Cape Spear Lighthouse is the most easterly point, not only in Newfoundland and Labrador, but also in the entire Canada. When you plan to drive from Twillingate to St. John, or from St. John's to Twillingate, it's a 5 hours drive. Likewise, from Grosmo National Park to Corner Brook from St. John's is approximately 6.5 hours to 7 hours drive. Some of the summer activities that will enhance your itinerary when you are in Newfoundland. Quiddy Widdy Brewery, here you can experience beer that is made of real iceberg. Cape St. Mary's Ecological Reserve is another beautiful route to drive to see different species of birds. And during the winters, you can experience cross-country skiing at Grosmo National Park and ATV and snowmobile tours at Corner Brook. Now, there are some more itinerary places that are reflecting on your screen. Let us see how you can explore it through an itinerary. So like I said, you can either take a ferry from Nova Scotia and come to Newfoundland, or you can arrive at Deer Lake Regional Airport and arrive at Newfoundland and Labrador. Now, Deer Lake is very close to Corner Brook. You arrive at Corner Brook and then you drive to Grosmo National Park. You either do a day tour or come back, or you proceed to Port Oaks Choice, which is a National Historic Site, a beautiful place. Stay for one night in St. Barb and then take a ferry to Blanc-Sablon. Now, like you can see here, Labrador is connected with Quebec province. And this area, this portion where you see Twillingate, Gander, it's the entire Newfoundland island. Now, when you're at Blanc-Sablon, you drive to Red Bay, come back to Lance of Clare for a one-night stay, since you'll have a complete day tour, and then travel back, take back a ferry from Blanc-Sablon to Lance of Meadows, which is again a beautiful place to explore, and stay for one night at St. Anthony. Now, when you drive to Grosmo area, you can either stay at Grosmo or drive to Gander. From Gander, you need to visit Twillingate. Now, when you're in Twillingate, you get beautiful views of icebergs. You can also take a boat tour, which gets up close to icebergs. And then from Twillingate, you drive to Terra Nova National Park. You have an option for camping, like I said. Stay for 2 nights in Clarenville. Proceed to Cape Bonavista, Trinity, and then drive back to St. John and visit the various places and experience the hump rail at Witless Bay. So this is unique itinerary that covers your entire Newfoundland, most of the places in your Newfoundland and Labrador province. Let us play a short video on humpbacks, Newfoundland and Labrador, please.
funny thing about this place. You'd be hard-pressed to take a simple picture without some humpback spoiling it for you. Newfoundland and Labrador.
So let us explore Prince Edward Island, which is one of the smallest provinces of all the 10 provinces that we spoke about. Now, Charlottetown, which is the capital city of Prince Edward Island, we would be exploring more activities from Charlottetown and in Charlottetown. There are various car rental companies that are available at Charlottetown Airport in case if you plan to pick your vehicles from there. Cavendish Campground and Stanhope Campground in Prince Edward Island National Park offers a variety of accommodation options as well as camping styles. Now, when you explore the Twin Shore camping area, it gives you an opportunity to experience white and red sand together in one place, as well as Brudenell Provincial Park gives you an option to experience horseback riding, canoeing, kayaking, and it's very close to Confederation Trail. This particular provincial park is very famous for RV camping and RV tenting. Few of the day trips that you can experience. Now, like I said, that Prince Edward Island is a very small province. You have North Cape Coastal Drive, which gives you a beautiful experience of Mi'kmaq culture as well as houses that are made of bottles. Likewise, if you plan to drive the Central Coastal Drive, it gets you close to Confederation Bridge, and there are different unique landmarks that you can experience along with driving through the Northumberland Strait. And the Points East Coastal Drive. This is another unique drive which gives you a peaceful, serene experience with different beautiful view of the oceans. Harbour Hippo is a must-do to experience historic sites by land as well as by sea. And you must experience the Confederation Players Walking Tour as it gives you the history as to how Canada was born and what were the roles of the delegates in 1864 to build Canada and during that particular Charlotte conference. Distance from Charlottetown to New Brunswick is 3.5 hours drive via a Confederation Bridge. And you can also take ferry from Halifax to Prince Edward Island. Now, some of the major activities that you can experience is your Green Gables Heritage Place. This is the most visited tourist point. You also get to experience Haunted Woods as well as Lovers Lane. Confederation Center Art Gallery, Confederation Trail is a must experience during the summer, but also during the winters, you can experience short, easy ski. Guided snowmobile tour during the winter are some of the best activities that you can experience in Prince Edward Island, apart from those that you saw on the screen. As we come to our third province, which is Nova Scotia. Now, the main entrance, or rather I can say you have a lot of flights availability to or options to enter into Halifax. So right here on the right-hand side of the map, you can see Halifax, which is the capital city of Nova Scotia. And next to it, you can see Peggy's Cove, which is the most photographed place and the beautiful lighthouse that Nova Scotia has to offer. So Nova Scotia has about more than 160 lighthouses. And right between Peggy's Cove and Liverpool, we have Lunenburg. And on the right-hand side, you can see the Cape Cabot Trail, as well as Baddeck. Again, we have some car rental companies at Halifax, like your Avis, Hertz, Dollar Thrifty Enterprise, and you can plan accordingly whether you want to pick the car from Halifax and drop it to St. John, which is possible, and likewise to various other airports if the company is, or if the car rental companies are still present. Some of the beautiful camping areas in Nova Scotia would be your Five Island Provincial Park that gives you an experience of the Bay of Fundy, Keji-Makulchik National Park, which is a national historic site, gives you an experience for authentic tents, as well as Acadian forest that is near the shoreline of the lake. Chetty Camp, which is very close to Baddeck, and is located in Cape Breton Highlands National Park, gives you various options of campgrounds. And Corny Brook Campground is another place that is there at Cape Breton Highlands. So these are the various campgrounds at Nova Scotia, some in Cape Breton Highlands and some around the place. The beautiful road trips that you can experience while you are in Halifax is your Cape Breton Island, which gives you a beautiful experience and vibrant culture of the city. Annapolis Valley, that gives you an experience of the richest agricultural farms as well as vineyards. We have the Bay of Fundy, wherein you can experience high tides. And we have the Yarmouth and Acadian shores, which is very famous for stargazing. And you do have options for accommodation over here as well, in case if you plan to do so. Murphy's Camping is again a beautiful way of camping, as it offers both RV and tent sites. And Halifax Citadel National Historic Site gives you a history of what the soldiers went through and what were the details of the soldiers at this particular place during the First World War. Now, when you drive from Halifax to Lunenburg, it's 1.5 hours drive, and to Baddeck, it's approximately 4 hours drive. You can hike at Cabot Trail if you're visiting. Likewise, you can experience deep sea fishing with private charters from Halifax. Dining on the ocean floor at the Bay of Fundy is one of the unique experiences that you can have. While at winter, you can experience winter surfing, snowshoeing at Cape Breton Highlands, and various other activities. Let us come to our fourth province of Atlantic Canada, which is New Brunswick. The capital of New Brunswick is Fredericton, and we would be covering the activities from St. John. Now, on the right-hand side, you can see Mount Carlton Provincial Park, which is home to different campgrounds and various camping options are available. During the winters, you can experience ice fishing here. You have the Pali Beach Provincial Park, which has more than 210 campsites on a beautifully groomed property. Likewise, you also have the Anchorage Provincial Park, which gives you option of tent caps and the panoramic view of the bay that makes the park an ultimate camping destination. Now, while you are residing at St. John, or you choose to stay at St. John, Fundy Scenic Drive, again, is a beautiful route that you must experience that gives you a view of the highest tide. You have the Acadian Coastal Drive, wherein you can experience the sample fresh seafood in case those who really love seafood, and the living history that this particular place has to offer, as well as the River Valley Scenic Drive, which is again one of the best drive that you can opt while you are driving from St. John. Now, you must experience the beautiful high tides at the Bay of Fundy. In addition to that, you also get to experience the colorful, rich history, diverse culture as well. Likewise, Carlton Martello Tower is a National Historic Site and one of the must-do that should be there in your bucket list when you are at St. John. Now, when you drive from St. John to Fredericton, it's a 1.5 hours drive. And to Prince Edward Island, it takes an approximately of 3.5 hours to 4 hours drive. The image that you can see is the image of the Fredericton Camp Room Trail. You can opt for biking here. There are a lot of various options, like you're visiting the St. John City Market, exploring the Martin's Cave. Now, you can also opt for ice climbing during the winters at Martin's Cave. Likewise, you can skate or enjoy the sleigh rides or cross-country skiing at Rockwood Park. Let us see a short video on New Brunswick, where you can see what are the activities that you can explore. There's still time to explore. There's still time to explore.
There's still time to get out and explore this summer. Time to shake up your routine. Try something new. And find your next adventure. There's still time to get out there, to to hit the open road and reconnect with what matters most. Time to find a new favorite spot, a new discovery, and a new experience. There's still time to explore, because in New Brunswick, you'll meet people that will always make time for you. What can we say? It's our welcoming nature.
So right on your screen, you can see a map which covers all the 4 Atlantic provinces. You can enter from Halifax, drive to New Brunswick, Fredericton, and St. John, then drive to Prince Edward Island and stay for 1 night at Charlottetown. Proceed, come back to Nova Scotia, stay for 2 nights at Baddeck while you explore the Cape Breton Highland National Park and various other campgrounds. Travel to Sydney, North Sydney, for a ferry to Channel Port aux Biscuits. And then it's a short drive from this port to Corner Brook. You also have an option to do a day visit at Grossmoor National Park and then proceed to Grand Falls, stay at Gander, visit Twillingate, do a day tour at Terra Nova National Park, and then drive back to St. John's for a 2-night stay. And you can either fly out or you have the option to come back or do a vice versa itinerary, basically. Let us begin with the second part of our webinar, which will cover Central Canada. Now, Quebec, which is the first province that we are going to cover, is the French-speaking province, and St. Lawrence River is the highlight. 2 major international airports is Pierre-Éliott Trudeau in Montreal and Jean Lesage in Quebec City. Various camping options in Quebec is your La Maurice National Park that offers you 150 lakes, as well as an opportunity to experience authentic tent. We have Parc National de la Jacques-Cartier, that is 30 to 45 minutes north of Quebec, which is a very beautiful place to experience adventure activities. Now, Mont-Tremblant also has an airport, and it is open during the summers as well as during the winters, with various activities like snowshoeing, snowmobiling during the winter, whereas kayaking, fishing, and canoeing during the summers. We have Grants Jordan National Park, that is 90 minutes drive from Quebec City and is known as the Big Gardens in French. You can ice fish in this particular campsite. Few of the beautiful day trips that I would like to highlight is their New France Road, your King's Road. Your King's Road basically connects 2 biggest cities, that's Montreal and Quebec. And while you drive through this road, you can stop by at Saint Anne de la Parade Church, your Folk Culture Museum, and various other places. St. Lawrence Route is again one of the majestic routes that you must experience that connects your Bay St. Paul and La Malbaie. While you are in Quebec City, you must experience Old Quebec, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And the best way to explore Old Quebec is by opting for a self-guided walking tour or a guided walking tour. And Huron-Wendat Museum gives you an experience of indigenous culture while you are in Quebec City. There are few activities that you can experience while you are in Quebec: zip lining at Montmorency Falls, or like I said, there are various adventure activities in Parc National de la Jacques-Cartier. It is canoeing, kayaking, biking, and various other activities that are available. Now, while you are in Quebec City, you must experience or explore fortifications of Quebec, which is a National Historic Site, whale watching at St. Lawrence River. Likewise, you must experience a 1-night stay or at least a visit to Hotel de Glace during the winters. And ice fishing is one of the best winter activities that you can experience from Quebec City. Let us play a short video and in this video, you'll get to know what are the 5 road trips that takes you to beautiful scenic routes of the Quebec province. So now when we explore Montreal, there are various car rental counters at Montreal Trudeau International Airport. Mount Royal Park is one of the best places, or rather you can say, you can experience mountain from the city and with beautiful view of the entire city. And it is the best place to experience summer as well as winter activity. You must experience Notre Dame or visit Notre Dame Basilica, the beautiful image that you can see on the right-hand side, wherein you also get an opportunity to see the Aura Light and Sound Show. From Quebec, it's a 3 hour drive to Montreal. You must visit St. Joseph's Oratory of Montreal for a different experience altogether. You can zip line over the canal in Old Port. You can also stroll along St. Paul's Street or the Old Port while you are aboard at the St. Lawrence River. Some of the winter activities that you can experience, and one of the best is you ice skate to music next to the St. Lawrence River on the Old Port of Montreal, and various other options like snow tubing, snowboarding, and other activities that are available in Montreal during the winters. Let us see a short video that begins from Montreal and goes up to various different places to experience the wilderness that Quebec has to offer. So apart from those itineraries that you just saw in the video, we have one more itinerary where you begin your journey from Montreal, proceed to a beautiful scenic road and arrive at La Maurice, then proceed onwards to Lac Saint John, stay for 2 nights there, proceed to Fjord, and then just drive back to Quebec City for a 2 night stay. Now let us explore the beautiful province of Ontario, which is an all-season province. There are 2 major international airports, Toronto Pearson International Airport, as well as Ottawa McDonald International Airport. Toronto being the gateway, and majority of the flights from Delhi and Mumbai arrive at Toronto if you want to explore the east coast of Canada. Mississauga Park is one of the best campsites that you can explore in Ontario. Lake Superior Provincial Park is known for hiking trails and backcountry camping. Likewise, we have the Killarney Provincial Park that's right next to Wild Georgian Bay, and it showcases the pink granite. And there are a lot of beautiful places like beaches, trails, and options of canoeing while you stay at Killarney Provincial Park. We have majorly most car rental companies at Toronto Pearson International Airport on level 1 of the Terminal 1 as well as on Terminal 3. Some of the beautiful day trips that you can experience is drive to Hamilton Mountain to experience a 30-minute exotic car and supercar test drive, or you proceed from Toronto to Tobermory and Flower Pot Island, and you can also enjoy a cruise here, which gives you an opportunity to opt for a 3 hours lunch cruise along with a dining cruise option available. Bruce Peninsula National Park, a great place to explore and to swim around in this place. Here you have an option of camping as well as glamping, and you can hike to Indian Cove and Grotto. And the best way to explore Deer Trail Drive is taking a motorbike ride here. Now, Toronto is very famous for CN Tower, and Edgewalk gives you a very good opportunity of becoming a part of the skyline. Now, you also get an option to explore the glass walk at CN Tower, Royal Ontario Museum is again one of the best places to catching a big salmon on Lake Ontario, like you can see Mr. Waz's experience, is one of the best activities that you can have. Likewise, driving to Rouge National Park, which offers 13 trails for hiking and various other activities. During the winter, you can snowshoe around at Humber River or within the highway park, as well as the harbor front offers you the skating option as well. Now, when you are driving to Niagara Falls, various other activities that you must experience, like your hornblower cruise, the helicopter ride. But Niagara on the Lake is one of the prettiest town, and Chateau des Champs is one of the best places to experience vineyard. It's basically the first commercial vineyard that was dedicated exclusively to European varieties. Fort George National Historic Site gives you an option of to connect with nature as well as history. You also must experience the ice wine when you're at Niagara on the Lake and the beautiful rich to farm table traditions that are on Niagara, that is available on Niagara on the Lake. One of the exclusive experiences that your clients can have. Likewise, during the winters, you have Journey Behind the Falls, Zipline to the Falls, and various other activities that is reflecting on your screens available. Let us go through a short itinerary wherein you arrive in Toronto, do a day visit to Niagara Falls, then travel or drive to Hunts one night at Killarney National Park, then drive to Sault Ste. Marie. From Sault Ste. Marie, you travel to Manitoulin Island and take a ferry to Tobermory, do a day visit there, and drive back to Toronto. Ottawa, which is the capital city of Canada, is the best place to experience the wildlife as well. So Omega Park, which is in Ottawa but very close to Montebello in Quebec, gives you an opportunity of self-drive Canadian safari, as well as an experience of Canada's First Nations culture. Parliament Hill is the highlight of Ottawa, and the sound and light show that happens on Parliament Hill is something that you should not miss. While you boat or while you walk around at Rideau Canal or canoe at Rideau Canal during the summers, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, you can also experience ice skating at Rideau Canal during the winters. Likewise, you have an option of ice fishing on the Ottawa River and the whitewater rafting at the Ottawa River. Several other adventure activities like go skydiving or the bungee jumping are various other adventure activities that you can experience while you stay at Ottawa. Now, when you travel from Toronto to Ottawa, you can stop by 1,000 Island, either for a helicopter tour or for a narrated boat tour. Both of them will give you a beautiful experience. Likewise, we have various other activities during the summer, but during the winter, the night skiing at Dry Hill is a unique experience that you can have at Thousand Island. Blue Mountain is known for a lot of adventure activities, and Hummer Tour, which is a customized H1 Hummer Tour, is one of the highlights that you must experience when you are in Blue Mountain. You have an option to relax and rejuvenate at Scandinave Spa, as well as various winter activities like hiking tube, Hummer snowshoe tour, and the different places. Activities, I'm sorry. Now from Toronto, you travel to Blue Mountain Resort. It's just a 40 minutes drive. As we come to Algonquin Provincial Park, very well known for backpacking trail network and canoe. Algonquin backcountry. It's the first provincial park with great activities. You have boating, fishing, hiking, biking, and various summer activities available. Likewise, cross-country skiing and snowshoeing is also allowed, but window fishing is not permitted in Algonquin Provincial Park. From Ottawa to Algonquin Provincial Park, at Muskoka, which is 2.5 hours drive from Toronto, a great place to experience teepee camping, as well as zip lines and aerial park that nestle around the Santa's Village is another great experience. Let us see a short itinerary that you arrive at Toronto, do a day visit at Niagara. From Toronto, you travel to Blue Mountains, stay for one night at Blue Mountain, stay for one night at Muskoka, experience camping at Algonquin Provincial Park, drive to Kingston for a day visit and for a 2-night stay at Ottawa, and proceed for your onwards journey. Now, this is the last map, which is known as the Ontario Circle Tour. You arrive in Toronto, do a day visit or stay for one night in Niagara Falls, experience the Niagara on the lake, do a day visit to Hamilton while you drive to Blue Mountains, stay for one night in Blue Mountain, drive to Tobermory. So you can see Tobermory is right here, and you need to take a ferry to Manitoulin Island. Experience the activities at Tobermory, arrive at Manitoulin Island and stay for one night. Now, while you drive from Manitoulin to Killarney National Provincial Park, you can stop by at Sudbury, an amazing place to experience. From Killarney, you drive to Huntsville. From Huntsville, you stay over there, experience the beautiful scenic and the activities that Huntsville has to offer, and stay for 2 nights at Algonquin Park. From Algonquin Park, you drive to Ottawa, stay for 2 nights, drive back to Thousand Islands in Kingston, and end your journey at Toronto. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this webinar, and over to you, Mr. Murari.
Thank you, Carol. What you have shown today must be one of the best scenic and experiential road trips in the world. We will be taking a few questions here. May I request Mr. Bas and you to take up some questions here, please. The first question is from Mr. Sanjay Datta, Managing Director, Airborne Holidays. Mr. Datta, can I have you, please?
Yeah, Mr. Murari, thank you very much. I think these were some excellent road trips which Carol has mentioned. I have a few questions on the road trips, though. You did mention about the license, Indian license is valid there and it's a right-hand drive. But what I need to check is, are these road trips all year round or it's only specific to a certain season? And if it is specific to certain season, then what is the best season to go in there? Carl, maybe you can answer that.
Thank you, Sanjay, and thank you, Carol, for that most well-conceived presentation. I must tell the audience that Carol's worked very hard with the team, with Vishaka and Conrad and Manisha. So well done, Carol. Sanjay, thank you for your question. Most of the road trips are year-round. I would not advise a road trip during the months of January to March. It can be for a driver from India, it can be a bit of a challenge if there is heavy amounts of snow. Having said that, I can tell you that from my own personal experience, but I've driven during the winter, that is November and December, across the length and breadth of the west coast of Canada, inclusive of the Rockies and British Columbia. But I would not advise Jan, Feb, March for our travelers from India if they're not used to driving in North America. So barring that, all roads are year-round. And I can also safely say that the best time for the East Coast, which I have personally done with some media, has been during the fall season, because the fall colors are beautiful to look at when all the maple leaf trees go from green to all different hues of oranges and reds and dark reds, and you'll see that across the length and breadth of the East Coast of Canada. So my personal favorite is fall, but all of the road trips, Sanjay, are year-round.
Okay. Coming back to the parks, which are an excellent option for any wilderness kind of tour, and especially when you're on a road trip, it's more of less like an adventurous journey. So, what are the facilities available in the park, and how safe are those parks to stay in? Because most of these places where some pictures were shown by Carol, there were some tented accommodations rather than normal hotels or motels for that matter. But if one wants to stay in the park itself and experience that for a night or two on the way, are the facilities available, and what are the safety measures taken there? Because obviously if there are parks, there will be wild animals and other things. Or are there specific places in park where you can pitch in your tents and then stay there?
So Sanjay, I'll take that question. When you're driving through various parts of Canada and you're passing through Canada parks, there will be designated rest stops with very clear indication whether you can rest for the night or you cannot. In most cases, you have to drive through. Having said that, there are also private sector camper grounds. So you would drive to a camper ground and you would pay a fee for the night. And that camper ground, if you might have seen some of the slides, it showed an RV with the connection for sewage, water, and you can also get a small space to light a bonfire and so on and so forth. So those are private sector operations, but in Parks Canada, by and large, you would drive through. But where you stop, yes, those are safe areas. And there are, of course, rules and regulations which are very clearly posted on signages as you enter. I cannot comment on accommodation, but whatever we've shown you in terms of TP accommodation and so on, those are all possible, and those are all through, correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, those are taken from the Canada Parks websites itself, and some of them from the Tourism Board websites. So they are available, but you will have to contact them directly for any bookings.
No, I presume they will be safe as well. So
absolutely. I've also done this with the RV with the Urbane lifestyle magazine from Pune, and that those were the people's. In fact, we had sourced their visuals and given them the copyright credit as well. So even when we went through the drive-through, Sanjay, they were all very safe areas because these are all gated communities, the camper park sections.
Okay. One more question, if I'm allowed, if I have time, Rory, is that you spoke about fishing a great deal. Are fishing equipment available on rental there, and the licenses? How easy or how difficult is it to get the license there?
That's a very good question, Sanjay. So you noticed I went fishing on Lake Ontario, and this was done in August of last year. Now, what happens over there is that if you want to be, even if you're a guest from India, from any other part of the world, if you would like to catch a fish, whether you want to retain it or you want to catch and release, like I did catch and release, you still need a license. You have what is called a day license, or you get a multi-year-long license. I've taken a 3-year license. It's not very difficult. It's fairly easy and can be done within an hour and a half process from a designated government outlet. But if you are not going to catch, that is, you're not going to physically use the rod yourself, and you're just going to be on the boat, you don't need the license for that. This is only if you're going to participate in fishing. As far as renting of equipment is concerned, all of that is given to you by the provider of the boat. So the boatman will provide for the guests fishing rods, tackle, guidance, and will help you through the entire process. If you want to catch and release, he will also help you with the catch and release segment as well. If you wish to take it with you, which is an option with the license, then he will help you with that as well. But most guests are advised to catch and release. The last part on your question regarding fishing, do bear in mind that usually you have a lot of these apps that tell you, or the websites, but do bear in mind that you have any guest on a road trip has to be mindful of local law. So there are certain places where you can fish, and there are certain places when you cannot fish. There are times of the year when you can fish, and there are times of the year when you cannot fish. So it's important to check with your supplier what are the rules and regulations before you block that itinerary, which includes this particular activity of fishing.
All right. And lastly, I would like to ask you, in case on these road trips, especially because this is road trip special, you get stranded somewhere. What are the options available to you? Because sometimes it can be dangerous, in an alien country. And I'm talking purely from the perspective of an Indian traveler going there, maybe with a family. So they are a little very on as to what are the like in case they get stranded, is there help available, and what kind of help is available?
Thank you, Sanjay. So yes, when you rent a vehicle from any of the authorized car rental institutions in Canada, either at the airport or out of the airport, you will receive clear instructions in case of a misfortunate accident or unfortunate accident, or if you have unfortunate situation where you run into a problem where the car is incapacitated and you're stuck in the middle of the road. So you will be given emergency dial-in numbers beyond the traditional what you call, you may say, police or fire or road or law enforcing agencies. But you will have access to, so it is important that you always rent from a reliable source, from an authorized source. It's always important that you rent from the companies that are authorized to operate, and not, not some fly-by-night operators. Canada is very particular about laws anyway, but nonetheless, it should be made clear to all our travel trade partners out there that if you're going to rent a vehicle, source it from an established DMC, because he will know where to source it legally from, and therefore there are checks and balances in case. So I have driven on the East Coast, I've driven in the Rockies and on the West Coast, and whenever I've taken a vehicle, at every stage I was given the company's helpline or toll-free numbers or emergency contact numbers, even for a flat tire. So even if a key is lost, I was given that sort of information. And I would advise that everyone take insurance. They may give you the option that you do not need to take insurance for a lost key, or you don't need to take insurance for XYZ. Take the add-ons. It's always advisable.
Thank you, Carl. I think these road journeys are very exciting, though I have put them on my bucket list, but I don't know when that list will get started going. But then we all hope that we can do it sooner than expected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Datta. Next, we have Mr. Shishir Khambete, Associate Vice President, Leisure Outbound Travel, Thomas Cook, India. Mr. Shishir?
Hey, hi, Carl. Good evening. Hi, Carol. Good evening. Was a wonderful presentation on the road trips. So I have just a couple of questions. So you mentioned about all the camping grounds and the parking facilities outside the cities. So typically what happens is when you hire a car, the problem is when you're driving within the cities. So say when you're driving within Vancouver, or when we are driving within Halifax or Montreal, the parking is a bit of an issue. So in these eastern provinces, when Carl you have driven, was it a problem when you were in the city, or was ample parking available? And what would be the normal average costs of a general parking?
Very valid question, Shishir. So when I was planning my road trip with the journalists, or even on my own personal drive experience in order to understand the destination, I had to book hotels or research hotels that had parking space. And usually what happens at these hotels is that they have an underground parking facility, some of them chargeable, but by and large, most of them are not charged if you're a guest of the hotel. So once you've parked and you bring your token, because usually these are, you just drive to a ramp, and then the ramp blockade goes up, and you take, and it gives you a ticket. So once you go up to the reception, you submit that ticket at the time of your reservation and completing your check-in formalities, so that they don't charge you for that parking space. It's attributed to your reservation. Now that's on a personal level. Now, when you as a reseller, or as a DMC, as Thomas Cook or any of the trade partners watching out there, when they want to book, it would be advisable that they book via a DMC, or if they're booking through a GDS or anything of that situation, it is important that they book at hotels that have a parking facility. Because if they don't, and you have to park on the streets, then it can be a long walk, because you may not get the parking right outside. It also depends on which locality your hotel is located, right? So I stayed in localities in Montreal where there was parking available even on the street, but I didn't know about that. So I had already paid and looked after my parking in the basement of the hotel. When it came to Quebec City, I was in a hotel right in the center of the old city. So I couldn't park there because there wasn't enough parking. There was only space for food delivery trucks and so on. So I had to park some distance away, and of course walk it back and forth every day. So it's important that you must be mindful. It's just like Mumbai or Delhi or any other, there are some places where you can park and some places where you just cannot park. So I would suggest to our trade partners out there is that please research the hotels to ensure that there's adequate parking. When you look at hotels on the outskirts, so for example, on the return back to India, I stayed at a hotel in Montreal that was closer to the airport. Now they have much more larger spaces because they're not in the heart of the city. So they have ample parking. You don't even need to go down to the basement. They have parking that is surrounding the hotel. Similar situation in Toronto. When I stayed in a hotel closer to the airport, I could find ample parking at the hotel premises on the outside. I didn't have to go or even search for underground parking. But when it comes to the heart of the city, yes. So in the heart of the city in Toronto, I had to choose a hotel that had underground parking as opposed to public parking. So these are things that you would have to be mindful of. I agree with you, Shishi.
And the second question, Carl, is normally how many days would you recommend in this part of Canada? How many days itineraries would you recommend? Because see, West Coast normally would go up to 7 or 8 nights on the regular route of the West Coast. But here, how many nights would you recommend if you have to do itinerary, say, ex Montreal? Because when I was looking at the presentation, I thought a lot of itineraries could be done ex Montreal and not necessarily ex Toronto, because from Toronto then you would have to fly into some city.
So I would say that ideally a decent road trip should be a week. Anything shorter than that is really pushing it. Road trips are supposed to be leisurely, and that's
Correct.
how the trade partners should promote this to their audience, right?
Yeah.
It's not a check in, check out 52 seater.
No, no, agreed. So what I meant is how much time do you require for this region? Because there is a certain base time that you require for any geography in the world, right?
My suggestion is, since we're dealing with FIT and small and closed groups or family groups, is we should pitch for 10 days. That should be the ideal pitch from the trade perspective. Why 10 days? Because I think that gives them sufficient time to have an experiential, immersive, uh, vacation. It's important that they enjoy their time at the camp. It's important that they enjoy, kayaking or canoeing or archery or fishing or any of those items, or snowboarding or snowshoeing if they're going during winter. It's also important that they enjoy a breakfast and enjoy the dinner at a campsite or a bonfire. So these are all part of those immersive experiences that come out. We have coming on next is Tekla Myra from their core group in Fairmont. And so even when people stay at those sort of hotels, one needs to do it at a more leisurely space as opposed to just going in for a quick check-in and a check-out the next day. So my suggestion, Shishir, and I'm sure you would agree, is that our industry needs to promote these sort of experiences at least for 10 days.
That's right. Yeah. Thanks, Carl.
Thank
So that those were a couple of questions from me.
Thank you, Cecil. Next, we have questions from Mr. Mahendra Bakaria, Managing Director, Pathfinder Holidays. Bakaria, please. Yeah.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Murari. Carl, pleasure seeing you. It's a new normal for all of us to be chatting up, connecting like this. See a lot of friends on the panel. Thanks, Carol, for the wonderful presentation. It's not fair that you all do such beautiful presentation and bring back such fond memories of a destination where you can only dream of it right now and not travel there, and that's more painful. I would rather not see the presentation and keep thinking about it the whole day now. But quickly coming back to road trips Canada, the self-drive holidays are becoming very popular with the clientele. And in part of the continuation of the questions, I have a couple of questions, Carl, permitting time. My first one, which Carol's presentation did answer a bit, was Indian license, the smart license is valid. But the second part of the question is to hire an RV. That is my next dream. Next time in Canada, I want to drive in an RV and camp it out. Do you require a special license, or still the smart license is sufficient to hire an RV, say for 4 people with accommodation and move around?
Thank you, Mahendra, and good to see you again and to talk to you. Mahendra, the Indian driving license, my Indian driving license is what I used for renting all my vehicles. However, you might have seen in the presentation an RV that was used by our media crew. I was not allowed to drive that because I have an Indian driving license and I had not carried an international driving permit. So only the editor of the publication and his and the photographer who are used to driving internationally, they had the international driving license. And so the vehicle was registered onto their name for insurance purposes. Because of the size of the campers and the size of the RVs, some of them can be extremely large, more larger than the one that we showed you on the visual. Some of them can be as large as a 52-seater coach, extremely luxurious inside with multiple bedrooms, right? So those require that a person be very conversant with international driving from an insurance perspective, and which is why the local laws require that you have an international driving license. But if you're renting an SUV, like I rented several large, and including a Yukon XL, the Yukon XL also can be rented using your Indian driving license. So all the SUVs or the sedan cars you can use your Indian, but RVs, no, you require an international driving license from your local RTO, whether you're in Ahmedabad or Mumbai or Delhi or wherever.
Got it. Thanks. So IDP is a must for an RV. I thought so as much because it's slightly more technical to drive that with the length of the vehicle extended and in the weight of the vehicle as well. So that's number one. My second question is, and this is the area of Canada that needs a promotion from the industry in India, which is Newfoundland, Nova Scotia, and that region. It's stunningly beautiful. Maitri was there last year, and the feedback that she's got of the destination and the region was fabulous. Now, my quick question is, supposing if a client has not too much of a time, because Canada is a huge country and, sparing so much of time becomes a challenge, 6 or 7 days, starting from Halifax and covering two very, very famous self-drive routes. One would be, of course, to cover the Bay of Fundy to see the big tides, and then crossing over to the Prince Edward Island, and then completing with the Cabot Trail and then coming back to Halifax. Is this doable? Or am I being too optimistic?
So I'm going to direct that question to my colleague, Carol. Carol, do you think you could answer or provide an answer to Mahendra for this one?
Definitely. Thank you, Mr. Vakaria, for this question. Yes, you can do that. You can arrive in Halifax. You can plan to stay for 2 or 3, maximum 2 nights in Halifax. And when you drive from Halifax to New Brunswick, you can experience the high tides from Nova Scotia as well. There is a place known as Digby. Or you can drive to, say it's a 4.5, 5 hours drive to St. John and experience the high tides from New Brunswick, and then drive to Prince Edward Island. You also have an option to come back to Halifax and then drive upwards to Baddeck. Because if you have seen the itinerary that I just presented, the map, Baddeck is slightly upwards in the Nova Scotia map. So you can definitely do with a 6 nights or a 7 nights stay.
Thank you, Mr. Vakaria. Next, we have question from Mr. Sanjeev Mehra. Mr. Mehra?
Hi, Carl. Hi, Carl. Hi, Carol. It's wonderful presentation. And I do have some questions on this because last year myself has been thrice to Canada. And this was wonderful. I drove the car also. It was really great pleasure driving there. And my question is, what is the duration of the cruise for St. Lawrence River? Are these cruises are overnight or is a dinner cruises?
Carol, did we talk about any cruising besides the Rockport cruises?
Yes, so we do have a St. Lawrence cruises option available, Mr. Mehra. You have an option of a sunset dinner cruise, which is a 2.5 hours cruise at St. Lawrence, which usually happens from Thousand Islands. Whereas you also have a 4 to 7 nights cruise, which is on St. Lawrence River, that either begins from Montreal or Thousand Islands, or even from Quebec City. So there are varieties of options that St. Lawrence Cruise has to offer.
Okay, thank you. And I do have a couple of other questions as well. Regarding this Hotel de Glace, is it operational on which months, basically? Which are the months?
So it is basically operational from Jan to March, and it might get extended until the month of April, but Jan to March is basically the main season. You can explore the rooms, suites that this particular hotel has to offer, And Ice Bar is an exclusive option that the Hotel de Glace has to offer. But post-pandemic, we are not sure what are the exact dates that it's going to open. But definitely, it's a great experience.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Some more questions is two more. Sorry, Murli, I'll take two more questions because I'm very inquisitive about Canada. And a lot of people, they must be knowing that Canada, a lot of Americans and Japanese people, they do travel for golf in Canada. And just give me a brief about this Whirlpool golf courses and possibility of golf tours over there in Canada.
So, Mr. Vaz, I would like to redirect this question to you, please.
So, Sanjeev, yes, there are. You spoke about golf, correct? Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are definitely golf courses and golf tours. We didn't cover that subject. It's good you brought this up. We didn't cover that subject in this session. One of the reasons why we didn't cover the subject is we were looking at families, and we're not too sure how much of golf would be involved when we're looking at families or close-knit groups going on a road trip. But I do take your suggestion in mind, and we have one activity-based webinar that's coming up, and we'll do a session, or rather we'll address the subject of golf in that session. But yes, point noted, we haven't covered golfing, but very much available and very much within the reach on the east coast of Canada, for that matter, across Canada.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehra. Next, we have questions from Mr. Sriram Patel, Director, Unicorn Travels and Treasurer of TAR. Mr. Patel.
Yeah, hello everyone. Finally, I got a chance to ask question. Thank you, Carol. Today I'll be dreaming about Canada, definitely. Well, I have around 3-4 questions. One is, how far is Rouge National Urban Park from Toronto City, and what other activities besides hiking can be done?
So Rouge National Park is basically an approximate of 30 minutes drive from Toronto City, and it's very famous for hiking trails. But apart from that, you have canoeing, kayaking, bird watching, and various other activities, and especially those who prefer or who have not done camping before. It's a pleasant place to experience your first time camping.
Oh, great, wonderful. How long does the Hummer tour last, and what all does it cover?
So Hummer tour is basically a vehicle which is driven on a rugged road. It's basically an H1 vehicle that is used, and the duration lasts for approximately 1 hour maximum.
Oh, okay, wonderful. About camping, you have covered, but are there any other properties in the national parks other than when one can stay in? Apart from the campers?
I would like to redirect this to Mr. Vaz, please.
So, Sriram, nice to have you here. There aren't hotels inside the national park. In fact, I think, and Tekla can correct me if she's coming on board next, is the only place that is within a national park is Banff. And of course we've got some outstanding Fairmont properties, part of their core group in the Rockies, whether you're in Banff or in Lake Louise or for that matter across Canada. But on the East Coast, of course, when you're talking about Parks Canada, as in the national parks, there aren't because that's not permitted, because it's part of their conservation towards the ecology and the environment. So, Sriram, you won't find hotels, or motels alongside that you can stop at. So, but yes, outside the park area, so the entire thing it's not, the parks don't start at one city and end at the next city, right? So they come in patches and in and out, and there are signages that very clearly tell you where you are. So there are places where you will find also. But by and large, across on the Trans-Canada National Highway, there aren't any places that you can immediately get off. So you would have to put a detour on your GPS if you wish to stay the night. You have to take a detour. So on the highway, it's not like you can just break a right or turn right or turn left and stop for the night. You have to take an intentional detour on the Trans-Canada Highway if it's
Right.
running through Parks territory and so on.
Oh, okay, great. One last thing, you spoke about the camps, but what camp facilities are available in the campgrounds?
So generally, camping grounds, you camp there with your camper. So your camper or your RV
Yeah.
has its own toilet facilities. What the facility that they give you is usually you'll have a small mini market that you can get provisions from, or you go and get log wood or charcoal to start your campfire. The section where you will park your RV or your camper will come with a sewage connection, with a water connection, and with a designated area, a bench where you can sit and relax and have your outdoor meals. Security is very much there. You have people that come on a golf cart at night with a torch, and they checking the place that you're not breaking the rules, you're not causing a disturbance, and so on and so forth. But by and large, you are self-contained in your camper and RV. So it's not advisable to be in an SUV or a sedan and go to a campground. That would not be advisable, right? You should, if you're going to a camper ground, you need to be in a camper or with an RV. You can be with an accompanying car. So I have done it where some of us were in an SUV, but we had the camper as well.
Right.
So when we stayed for the night, we would all sleep in the camper, but during the day we were split between an SUV and a camper as well.
Right.
So
Thanks, Carl. That's my. I'm through. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you very
Priya,
much.
for joining us.
Thank you, Mr. Datta, Sisi, Mr. Bakaria, Mr. Sanjay Mehra, Mr. Patel, for your questions. And thank you so much, Mr. Bas, for your excellent insights and response. Up next, we have a special speaker amongst us, Ms. Chakla Mehra, Luxury Sales Director, India, Accor. Ms. Mehra has been in the hotel industry for over 20 years. She has held responsible positions in the industry in India as well as in Singapore. May I please welcome Ms. Mehra?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you, Murari. Thank you, Carl and Team Destination Canada. It seems almost nostalgic to be back here talking about Canada after what seems ages. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the last 2 hours. And I have to admit, I've learned a lot. And like Mahendra said, it's brought back a lot of memories and actually dying to get back and discover all these places. So just to get you into the groove and into the mood of what Fairmont is all about, one of our brand promises is, and I always boast about it, is turning moments into memories. So let me start with a short video of what Fairmont is in Canada, because that's where the brand began. Thank you. Are we live now? Okay, so that I hope you brought you into the mood of what Fairmont is all about. And today I'm going to keep to the topic of talking about driving tours in Canada, and I'm going to focus on the Quebec region because that's where we have 5 of our primary hotels, which really are conducive to doing driving tours. And I think it was Shishir who said very rightly that you would start a driving tour either from Ottawa or from Montreal, which is where you would land with the flight. I'm going to not talk too much about Toronto because I think a lot of you know, most of you know the Fairmont Royal York in Toronto, which has close to 1,100 rooms, recently gone through a refurbishment. So I'm going to come back into the Quebec region, where, as you see, we have these 5 beautiful, iconic hotels, each one offering an experience unique to itself, to the destination. And here I bring in the other brand promise, which we call authentically local. So if you look at a Fairmont hotel, if you see all these 5 images, you will see that not one of them looks similar, because what we try to do is we try to imbibe the culture, the characteristic of the destination that we are in. So it's not a matchbox hotel that you're seeing. It's got character. It's distinguished by place that it belongs to. So talking about the road trips, as you can see, each one of these hotels, and we're talking about these 5 hotels, are within driving distance, a very easy driving distance. So we're not talking about long drives because we don't want you to come back into our hotels and be tired. We want you to come and experience the hotel, the cuisine, and see your own moments turning into memories. So I think what I also have done is I've left part of this fact sheet in the library with Carl's team. So you will be able to access this at any time because it's quite useful while you're planning an itinerary. And as has already been explained, 7 to 10 days is the ideal time because yes, you don't just want to drive one place to the other. The countryside is beautiful, but you also do want to experience the hotels. So I'm just going to take you through a short trip. I'm cognizant of the time that we have. So I'm going to take you through the 5 hotels that I'm talking about. Starting with Montreal. What a vibrant city. I was there just a couple of years ago, and the hotel there has recently gone through a multi-million-dollar refurbishment. And it's a great city because it's got a bit of old, it's got a bit of new. And the great thing about it is that it can be, you can move around underground. So here's the hotel, the Queen Elizabeth, the Fairmont Queen Elizabeth, very well known. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but this is where John Lennon stayed in bed for 7 days and brought out the song on peace during the Vietnam War. So there are lots of stories to be told. There are lots of tales to be told when you have people going there. Extremely elegant, state-of-the-art, as I said, a newly renovated product, because a lot of our hotels are iconic and very old hotels, so we've got to bring them up to speed and make sure that they're offering the worldly benefit that people are looking at. What we're proud of also at this hotel is a very unique art collection from around the hotel. Memories, and then even though we have a modern city there, we also have the old Quebec City, which is a UNESCO site, which I think has already been spoken about. There are some great views of the St. Lawrence River as well. The Chateau Frontenac, probably the most photographed building in Quebec City. You would have seen this on calendars, on posters, everything to do with this area. You've got the Chateau Frontenac. It's also steeped in history, 125 years of history. Cuisine is a big thing. The experiences that we have are very local to the place that we are in Quebec. Luxury, of course, is something that you would always expect. And again, we have heritage rooms. We have a heritage suite, which is, again, authentically local. It's glamorous. The architecture is unique. As you can see, great views. And of course, a lot of people do travel there during the summer, so it's really great in summer. whether it's, just walking along the St. Lawrence River, or being on the terrace, having wine and cheese on the Dufferin Terrace, or using the spa. We have it all. Then going deeper into Quebec, the culinary getaway, Charlevoix. Here we have a hotel, the Fairmont Le Manoir Chez Richelieu. Again, all of these hotels are steeped in old history. So if you arrive there, you will have people who've been working there. Fairmont is very proud of the people, of its people, and they will always tell you loads of stories, loads of tales. So, it's not something, every guest of yours will have a unique experience. Again, a lot of these hotels have been recently renovated, so you can rest assured that everybody will have a great experience. Old is gold, but I know creature comforts are very important for the luxury traveler. Then coming further in to Quebec, we've got the Manoir Richelieu, where you go for whale watching. There's a golf course there. We talked about golf just now, and yes, this hotel has a golf course, a spa. So here it's sports. It's a great alpine getaway, as you can see. So great option to travel in winter as well. Then the Tremblant. It's a ski hotel. So you can ski in and ski out of this hotel. It's known for its ski activities. Recently, again, been renovated, and you can see what it's all about. I understand that now Indians are really getting into skiing as well. So great property to be promoted for skiing as well. Cuisine is a big part of Fairmont's brand promise all across the whole brand. And I do want to assure you that while we, of course, are very proud of the cuisine, the local cuisine, we're always flexible in providing cuisine based on what our guests want. Because what are we doing? We're turning moments into memories. So it's spa, relaxation, and that's why we say you can't just drive in and drive out. You've got to be there for at least 2 days. 2 nights is a must to be able to experience these hotels. Montebello, again, a great family getaway. Of course, there are these 5 hotels, and I don't think that you always want to get people to do all the 5 hotels. You can pick and choose depending on what their interests are. Some people may not want to ski. Some people may just want to relax and just go to the spa. So it depends on what people are looking for. And all this information, as I said, is being left in the library for you to source. And of course, I'm just a phone call away, as you all know. This is a unique hotel. It's like a log cabin, and it's available all 4 seasons. You've got something to do all across the 12 months. A bit rustic and quaint, but again, state-of-the-art facilities with the restoration. All our hotels have been recently restored. And incidentally, all the hotels are open. We can't wait now to welcome back international travelers, which we hope will happen sooner than later. So that is basically a bit about our hotels in the Eastern region, all drivable, all very drivable hotels. So conforming to the theme of today, I think it's a great option. I mean, I know a lot of times we're talking about the Rockies and Western Canada, but it's time now to focus on the eastern part of Canada, which I'm sure will hold a lot of interest for our Indian travelers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mehra, for that informative presentation explaining that what super luxury is to offer from Fairmont there in Canada. We have a couple of questions for you. First is from Mr. Sanjay Datta, Managing Director, Airborne Holidays. Mr. Datta.
Thank you, Murari. You don't need to introduce me to Tekla. Tekla knows me well, and I know Tekla very well. As a matter of fact, Tekla is a much better face known across the industry for that matter. Hi, Tekla. How are you? Good to see you once again.
Yes. Good to see you, Sanjay. Thank you.
I was just wanting to check how is Fairmont Canada perspective, because we are not talking about Fairmont any other place, because this is a Canadian webinar. So how are they like managing the expectations of an Indian traveler? Because Indian travelers' expectations from a hotel, you and I know, are much more than any average traveler for that matter. So how are they managing the expectations from the Indian traveler? Keeping the iconic images aside, the Indian mindset is they when they book a room, they buy a part of the hotel. So I just want to know from that perspective as to how Fairmont is coping with that.
Yes, Sanjay, very valid, very relevant question, and I have to go back to a little anecdote that I always talk about. I go back to 2010 when I joined the company, and the company flew me to Canada to experience the hotels. And honestly, I was quite ignorant at that time because I had reached the Rockies, and I said to a colleague of mine, I said, company is investing so much money in bringing us all here. A couple of us had joined that time. I'm not sure whether I'm going to see even a single Indian coming here. It's so far and it's so remote. I was obviously wrong because Indians love Canada. Indians love the Rockies and the eastern part of Canada. And I realized then that Indians were a great part of their audience, and they were managing it very well. Starting with food, I think the way to any Indian's heart is through the stomach. And I realized that whether it's breakfast, whether it's lunch, whether it's dinner, you can have an Indian dish on the menu. So, which was very heartening because let me tell you, when I was thousands of miles away to find aloo poha on the breakfast menu because I was there, it really hit a spot. So from the food perspective, whether it's the food perspective or it's understanding the needs of the Indian traveler, because Indian travelers are traveling, it's long haul, they're traveling with their family when they're traveling individually. So we recommend rooms where we can accommodate the children. And the Fairmont policy is in fact very generous. It accommodates children up to the age of 18. Children are up to the age of 18. So that's something that really resonates with the Indian traveler. And besides this, of course, we also have had a lot of incentive groups going into Canada, and we have had Indian chefs flying there and using our kitchen. So, of course, there are a lot of processes that have to be followed, but we make it happen. And we've been turning moments into memories for everybody. We've had some really happy Indian guests who've come back, who've had this on their bucket list and sent loads of people back again. So, of course, still learning. It's not easy. We're not an easy race to deal with, but we're there to serve and we're there to accept and understand what the Indian travelers look like.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tekla, because I think small things do matter. And if almost about 10 years ago, which is 2010, you still remember that aloo poha, then I'm sure these you have these memories which are great always to carry. What about how do you see luxury bouncing back first, or would you still see back of the aircraft fill more than the front of the aircraft for that matter? Because I think it's the front part which is more keen on staying at Fairmont than the back part. As a matter of fact, budget traveler will not be able to afford Fairmonts also. But do you see luxury turning back, and post-COVID luxury will be more in demand than the normal hotels would be?
Well, judging from what is happening now, because though we're not post-COVID, but the appetite to travel, I certainly see. And from what I can make out, it's a luxury traveler that is wanting to travel. I mean, maybe Canada is not open yet, but there are other destinations, like, for example, the Maldives that is opening right now. Mm-hmm. There is such a great appetite for people to get onto a charter and go into the Maldives. So this makes me believe that, yes, the luxury traveler is ready to travel, just waiting to travel. And people, I think, are getting more and more conscious of the fact that now safety, hygiene is going to be most important. So, even if it means saving on another place, they will definitely want to go to a luxury resort where they know that they are safe. So from that perspective, I do feel that, yes, luxury travel is well on its way. and people are raring to travel. Hopefully, we can provide them with the ability to travel, and from what Arun said, and what the destination has to offer. Hopefully, Canada will be back on the map next summer, and we will have the luxury travelers traveling who are now planning their trips. I think that's the most important thing.
So I think Fairmont should make a bid to Canadian government to allow Indians to come into Canada en bloc, because I think it'll be safer to travel that way. Another question which I have, and a very interesting one, is, we had seen during this COVID times, there were certain cancellations which were waived off. There were certain, in case the refunds were not given, I'm not talking about from the hotel perspective, but from the airline perspective at the same time, when airline said that, okay, we'll keep your tickets for 2 years, you can travel for 2 years. Similar things has happened in hotels also, different hotels. One is, can this not be a norm? Because why penalize somebody who is all set to travel but cannot travel due to some reasons? Everybody will have a reason or two. So do you think this kind of arrangement where I book and cancel, and if I can keep a credit note alive with the hotel, I'll use it at my next trip or something of that sort? And secondly, are there any promotions on the way? You see, not from the Indian perspective, but I am more talking on the outbound part, because a lot of people here are more keen on the outbound part. So outbound part, are there any promotions coming in where we can tell our clients, okay, these are the promotions available in case you wish to go, buy now, like buy now, stay later kind of stuff. There are a lot of hotels which are coming up with that. So in case you have any, we would like to know that also.
Okay, so to answer the first part of your question, Sanjay, yes, flexibility is the need of the hour, and we understand that completely. And we as a brand have been very understanding of this during this COVID period. Of course, it came unexpectedly, and our management has been, very understanding and said that, look, refunds or credit notes, that's what is required, so we will do that. But moving forward, I think, yes, we will be more flexible. And I would also appeal to everybody, when you are booking, please do advise your clients that, there are always flexible options, and to look at the flexible options that the hotel has to offer. Whether you're booking through a DMC or you're booking online or through a portal, whatever you're doing, please look carefully at the terms and conditions, because we will have terms and conditions which are flexible, and we will maintain a promise on that and make sure that those refunds are there. So don't always look at the cheapest option. I know it's important for everything to be, within affordable measures, but please look at the flexible options. We have them always on our website. And if you have any problems, of course, please come to me. I'm happy to help. Now, talking of the other aspect in terms of promotions, honestly, currently the focus is on the short-haul destinations, because we haven't looked so far. We don't know what the future is going to be. But yes, it is definitely on the mandate that India is one of the key markets. And I will be addressing this with them probably October, November, because currently they're still dealing a lot with the domestic market. So I think October, November is when we will look at this, depending on what the conditions are for traveling next summer, because it's a summertime that people are going to be traveling. So definitely, yes, I will keep updated, and we work very closely with Destination Canada. So we will bring these out as well. India is a key market for Canada, for our hotels.
Thank you, Tekla. Thank you so very much. I sincerely hope that every country in the world will be open to travel in 2021. 2021 will be a game changer as far as industries is concerned. So my best wishes with all of you, and thank you so very much for enlightening us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
We have next question from Mr. Bakaria. Mr. Bakaria.
Hi, Tekla. How are you? Good to see you.
I'm good to see you, Mahendra.
My quick question is, I know Fairmont has become such a great comfort brand from an Indian clientele point of view. But the biggest challenge, I have two questions, Tekla. The first question is, as you know, the availability issue is becoming a major heartburn with the Indian bookings, More so because the Indian clientele do react late most of the time. And by the time we get back with a request to our partners there to book the hotel or see the availability, it's not available. Is there any way that you, sitting in India and controlling that brand, can manage, we have a magic wand which can help us with this? Because you'll be surprised, clients have changed their departure date or a destination because of Fairmont hotels were not available.
Okay. Mahendra, you're right. But let me just put things in perspective. I think this probably is more relevant for the western part of Canada. The Rockies, yes, the Rockies are an aspirational part of, and it's on everybody's bucket list. And what had happened in the last few years was that it had become a very attractive destination for the Americans from the US, and they were booking in advance and they were traveling there. Much as I would like to hold an inventory here, being just a one-person show, it's not feasible. But yes, the only thing that I can say is we have some great arrangements with DMCs, with some DMCs who are also based who have offices in India. Beyond that, I always say that I have some great relationships with my colleagues in Canada, and very often I'm able to twist their arm because there is always an allocation that is available online on the brand website. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I can't say that I can make the impossible happen, but I can help. But do start promoting the eastern part of Canada because there we have capacity. I don't think we're in such a situation there. So we look forward to that.
Well noted your point. So you are the go-to person for sure. We know who to bother, and we have been bothering you. Thank you for bearing with us all these years. My second question, and related to the first one, is there a possibility you could think of creating a program for about, say, 7 nights at a fixed cost of, say, 2,500 Canadian dollars, for example? Now, in this 2,500, the 7 nights could be split up any location of Fairmont in Canada. It could be, but with a condition, no hotel should be more than 3 nights at one go, So maybe that could induce a person who is looking to stay only at Fairmont throughout his trip in Canada. And this will give us a flexibility of creating a nice package and program. And maybe you can override that with the condition that in this minimum 4 nights has to be in the eastern part of Canada in the Fairmont, and then the other nights could be in the Rockies or Vancouver. Is there something like that you think can be possible going forward?
Mahendra, food for thought. And if that's the need of the hour, it's a discussion I can have. I cannot comment about the price because, that's something that one has to put on the drawing board. Put on the drawing board and see how we can do it. But honestly, if that is what you think is going to work, I'm here to listen to what is going to take in this market. And if that's what we have to do, let's sit down, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat with 4 or 5 people who can give me these ideas, and I will take it to the drawing board to them. And let's be prepared for next summer with something like that. I mean, we may have to do it that we have to put the eastern part of Canada in a separate bucket to the western part of Canada because the pricing in both parts is very, very different.
That's correct.
It's a conversation I'm extremely happy to have. I'm extremely happy to include you in a conversation with my Canadian hotels.
I mean, if something can be worked, initiated, that'd be great, because I tell you, this from an example, Taj Hotels in Kerala specifically, and also in Rajasthan had come up with this few years back, and there was like 6 nights or 7 nights minimum stay, and you pay a fixed price, and it could be split up in anywhere, and that sold like crazy, because clients who were not looking at staying at Taj started looking at Taj as an option to stay, and the package was sold on its own, So just a thought that I think, and because of Fairmont is such a strong brand with the clients coming to Canada from India, that's why.
I think it will be a great way to, get back into into Canada. So since Zoom is what we're working on nowadays, I'm happy to put all of you on a Zoom call with my colleagues in Canada, and let's have a roundtable discussion. We don't have to go to Canada for that.
Let's do that. Till we can meet in person, let's at least start something. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, Mahendra. Thank you, and lovely to see you.
Thank you, Mr. Bala, Mr. Sanjay Datta and Mr. Mahendra Bakaria. May I now welcome Mr. Karl Baz to come and thank all the speakers and audience as well.
Thank you, Murari, and I would like to thank all our speakers and especially all our guests. if we can request Manav as well to switch on his camera, because all who have switched on their camera, they're going live right now. So thank you to Sanjeev, to Sanjay Datta, to Mahendra, especially to Sriram, who's so patiently waited. Sriram, I know you spoke the last and you had
I was the last.
but thank you for being
Thank
there,
you.
and thank you for honoring us. It's always a pleasure. Thank you, Manav. I can see you there and driving. Thank you, everyone. That's the new normal. Thank you, Abbas, for being there on behalf of Taffy. We had Manav and of course Sriram from Thai. We had Mahendra Vakaria, a former president of OTOI. Sanjay Datta, who's also a Thai member and also Asia president of SCOL. We have with us Sanjeev Mehra, who's a vice president at SCOL and the president of SCOL Club of Calcutta. Thank you to all of you. We had Shishir, I think is still there, but his camera is off. Thank you, Shishir, for being there, and Suzanne Pereira as well. Thank you to all our speakers, and especially to you, Tekla. As a presenter, you had to wait patiently for several hours, but it's been a marathon session. I think it's a new way. And as we go forward into the next 4 or 5 webinars, this will be the format that we'll use, but we will crunch ourselves down and try and be more mindful of our time. But thank you, everyone, and have a very pleasant evening.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you,
Thank you, Mr. Bas.
Thank you.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Bas. I would like to thank every one of you for being a part of this informative webinar on Canada, and hope you enjoyed viewing the same. This is Murari, along with Destination Canada, Air Canada, and Accor, signing off for now. See you at our next webinar. Stay safe. Thank you.